The higher education fees announcement for 2017 has been postponed. Minister Blade Nzimande was set to make the announcement this afternoon. The department says a report on fee hikes will be made later to allow for further consultation. In October last year, the Fees Must Fall campaign sparked widespread student protests and damage to property. President Jacob Zuma then announced a zero-fee increase for 2016. He also established a commission of inquiry into the feasibility of free tertiary education. However, questions now arise over the postponement as the threat of possible student protests looms large again. Higher Education spokesperson Kaya Nkwanyana joins us on the phone line. Kaya, good day, welcome, and thank you for joining us. What is the reason for the postponement of the announcement today? Does it have anything to do with the ongoing submission at the Fees Commission?
No, well, the minister yesterday received a report from the Council of Higher Education, CHE, which is an advisory body to the minister on matters that relate to higher education and fees. They were giving him an advice. He had requested them that they establish a regulatory framework that will govern how fees will be managed in our institutions from now onwards, in particular with the experiences of last year with the Fees Must Fall. So they handed over the advice, of which they recommended a 6% fee adjustment, which is related to the CPI. It's your inflation-related adjustment, which is not an increase per se. So the minister had a responsibility, therefore, to meet with all the vice-chancellors and all the chairperson of councils today, which he expressed his acceptance of this advice that all universities this year must not increase fees, but they must adjust to the CPI inflation, which is 6%. And the outcome of the meeting was that vice-chancellors requested that they need time to go back and convene their councils because some of them are in a very, very worse financial dire strait as a result of the no-fee increase this year, and they therefore require time to engage with their council to see exactly whether this 6% will do any dent in their financial position, because some of them immediately felt that this is too low to salvage the situation in their institution. So we've agreed that we're going to give them time to consult and meet with different stakeholders in their institution and come back to the minister and say we agree or not on this proposal. And we think that in no time we'll be in that position, because they must convene immediately and fit us back as government whether this recommendation of the minister is accepted.
Kaya, now, in addition to the consultations, as you've mentioned, the students' representatives are saying that the Fees Commission is a hogwash, given that the minister is busy finalizing possible fee increments for 2017's academic year. Your comments?
Well, these are two processes. We've been observing in the media those kind of statements to conflate the two processes. The commission issue, which is a presidential commission, is looking at the feasibility and the modalities upon which free education for poor students can be introduced. We ourselves have came to make a presentation there to say this is how it can phase in a gradual way. The work of the commission has no relationship with the fees. The fees are money that are the top-up by universities from what we give them as subsidies. Each year we give universities money to operate and function. That includes salary bills, buying materials, and so on and so forth, running of operational costs, which is normally 40%, 40 or 50%. Then the rest of the funds, universities raise money through fees. So until such time the commission concludes its work, and it should be clear that even if it concludes its work, it will only pronounce itself in relation to free education for those who are poor, which it would have defined who is poor, who requires a state to therefore take the whole burden of teaching those particular students. So the issue of fees is inconsequential to the commission. Even if the commission were to finish its work this year, the fee increases were going to happen next year in any way. So there's no relationship between the two.
Mm-hmm. Now, just one more question for you, Khaya. How serious is government over implementing the free tertiary education demand?
Well, that has been an old decision of government. You remember that even the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Blade Nzimande, commissioned a report, a ministerial report in 2012, which was submitted for Cabinet in 2013, which was saying this is how we can phase in free education. The only issue that stopped us from implementing, rolling out, was the issue of money. The Treasury, the fiscus didn't have that money to finance through because it's quite expensive. At that time, we were speaking anything between 70 billion a year with the potential inflationary increase each year. And it was clear from the Minister of Finance that there was no money to additional source of money that can be dedicated to fund it. Even now, the Commission will make its recommendation to the President on how to implement. It must be able to also say where government must get that money, because as it stands, there is no money in the kitty. So even they will come with recommendation whether they are proposing additional revenue, additional taxation, so that there's more money coming in the system, which will fund this particular activity. But the issue has always been about the limited fiscus, which cannot sustain implementation of free education.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Khaya, for joining us this day. That was Khaya Ngwanyana, spokesperson for higher education. Meanwhile, the ongoing Fees Commission is currently hearing oral submissions from various stakeholders. After 2 days of hearings in Tshwane, the Commission has now moved to Vanderbijl Park. The government, private sector, student unions, political parties, academics and the university are represented at the hearing. The Commission is hopeful that the transparent discussion will bring out free and fair dialogue amongst all stakeholders. Student representatives have, however, objected to the Commission process, calling it a circus and a sham. The Minister of Science and Technology, Naledi Pandor, responded to the objections.
Well, I received a mandate from my principals to state in no uncertain terms. The National Executive Committee of PASMA, national organizer, made it very clear that I must tell the nation that PASMA boycotted this commission purely because we view it as nothing but a toothless circus. A toothless circus like many other high-profile commissions before it. We believe that from this commission, which is a waste of money and the resources, the students of this country are not going to achieve what they fought for, what the tens of thousands went to union buildings on the 12th of October for. Simply because already it's very scandalous that while the commission is sitting, there is a ministerial appointed task team that is looking at the fee increment for next year.
Well, I think one of the things we need to realize is that if we have families that can afford to pay for higher education, we should encourage them to do so. So we must, of course, ensure we provide sufficient assistance to students who come from families that don't have the means to afford education. So certainly fees must fall for the poor, but for those who can afford, they must pay in order to ensure we can assist as many students from poor backgrounds as possible.
Activists for free higher education argue that it would increase access for the poor. They say it will produce more skilled individuals while being consistent with transformation and social justice. Free higher education would also aid perceptions that the state is giving heed to people. However, critics say free higher education will mostly benefit the privileged. This is because subsidies are seen to be only going to the wealthy. They further say poor people do not qualify for higher education in large numbers. They maintain it would prove expensive and unaffordable in the long